The Incredible Hulk has always found himself in a unique position among the rest of the Marvel superheroes. He's a misunderstood monster that represents primal rage and unadulterated power. Oftentimes, this power has him walk the fine line between good guy and bad guy. It makes him unpredictable, uncontrollable. The Hulk is a ticking time bomb inside of Bruce Banner that could go off at any point, and no force on Earth is strong enough to contain it. As humans, how could we ever hope to protect ourselves from this level of danger? This question and more was addressed in the popular 2006 to 2007 storyline called Planet Hulk that spanned Incredible Hulk Volume 2, number 92 to 105, as well as Giant-Sized Hulk number 1, written by Greg Pak, with artwork by Carlo Pagulayan and Aaron Lopresti. In it, a secretive governing body of superhumans, known as the Illuminati, make the decision to shoot the Hulk into outer space in order to secure our planet. Believed to have been done with the best intentions, their choice would only strengthen the monster they had long since feared. Their betrayal of a friend created a bitter enemy. Little did they know that they were about to experience a rage-fueled wake-up call like no other. Learn the hard way that their actions have dire consequences. So what led up to the Illuminati's decision to blast Hulky Poo into the final frontier, give up on their promise to cure Bruce Banner, and instead throw him under the proverbial rug so someone else could deal with the problem? Well, Hulk had been sent in to clear out a Hydra weapons cache outside Las Vegas that contained a humongous gamma bomb. Despite his efforts to disarm it, it would detonate and kill his entire team. The immense radiation from the bomb enhanced Hulk's strength, but fried his brain, putting him into a mindless, enraged state, a more primitive, grayer-skinned version of himself. The Thing and the Human Torch of the Fantastic Four are sent into Vegas to neutralize him. Hulk and the Thing have always been very similar. Both men were turned into monsters through radiation. I love how the comic mentions that Banner has always believed Ben Grimm to be the better fighter of the two, that he was the only one who could beat him in a fair fight. You see the look of derangement in the eyes of the Hulk when he tries to crush Johnny with a boulder. Bruce tries his best to overcome his anger, remembering the gamma explosion that had turned him into the Hulk all those years ago. As Ben tries to talk some sense into him, more thoughts flood his mind regarding his wife Betty being poisoned with gamma radiation, how it had been his archenemy the Abomination who caused it, with a contaminated blood transfusion, and he then sees the Thing as Abomination within his distorted version of reality, forcing the battle to continue. Banner has more visions of General Ross, the leader, Doc Samson, MODOK, and even himself, calling the Hulk a freak, a brainless waste of protoplasm, incapable of love, and a monster that should have died from that gamma explosion. The world would have been a lot better off without his existence. Ross even pulls out a gun and shoots him point blank to put him out of his misery. Bruce thinks about Hydra's gamma bomb, how the gamma radiation that birthed the Hulk cannot kill him. He fears that the two of them can never die. He will be doomed to be the Hulk, doomed to be a monster forever. The Hulk strikes the Thing harder than he ever has before, and breaks a few of Ben's ribs. Johnny is forced to go supernova to stop him. The intense heat of the attack is not enough to put the Hulk down, but it is strong enough to clear Banner's mind. He stands in the ruins of Las Vegas, and then gets picked up by a SHIELD helicopter. Ben mentions to Johnny that he had told Reed a joke, that when the Hulk goes nuts again, they should just strap him to a rocket and send him into space. Funny thing is, Reed didn't laugh. To protect himself and others, Bruce would go AWOL and begin living in a remote cabin in Alaska. We see him fishing for salmon as the Hulk alongside some grizzly bears. Going under a different name, Bruce is brought supplies once a month by a local pilot named Mark. The man offers to bring him a smokehouse so he can cook all the salmon he catches and sell them in town. He says it's important he not forget about his humanity when living out here. Mark would convince Bruce to come to a party at a bar in town. When he gets there, I relate to his silence completely. I don't drink, and loud obnoxious environments like this, where everyone gets wasted and can't hold conversations, there's literally no reason for him to be there. There's always the odd jackass too, and Bruce encounters several of them, sees a woman get assaulted by them. They take her into the woods to have their way with her, but under the moonlight, the scumbags have a big green visitor. Hulk throws one of the asswipes head first into their pickup truck, and then lifts up another by the head and squeezes, drawing blood. The woman thanks the Hulk for saving her, but doesn't know how anyone is going to believe her insane story. Mark would return the following month with more supplies for Bruce, including the smokehouse kit he promised. However, he also has a surprise for Banner as well. He reveals himself to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and has a special hologram message for him directly from Nick Fury himself. Like always, Banner would be plucked from his peaceful solitude. Why can't anyone just leave him alone? He meets with Fury at the Bering Straits and is tasked with destroying a Hydra satellite run by an artificial intelligence. It built itself from the remains of a Russian space capsule after shutting down the life support systems of its crew. The satellite has the power to remotely detonate any nuclear weapon on Earth. It has the know-how to mask its location, having only been attacked twice by humanity. One of these attacks, in 1986, led to the Chernobyl disaster when it retaliated against us. Fury makes Bruce feel guilty here. He says that he and the Hulk may not have to fear a nuclear holocaust, but millions of men, women, and children on Earth do. He's the only one strong enough for the job. Isn't that always the case? Banner agrees to smash it, and as the Hulk climbs into a pod that gets slingshotted into space with a group of fighter jets. When the satellite attacks the pod and rips it open with one of its large tentacle arms, Hulk realizes that it's not Hydra made, but S.H.I.E.L.D. made. Fury had tricked him into getting rid of their own mistake. Lying prick. Hulk does what Hulk does best, smash the ever-loving shit out of the satellite and its numerous clawed tentacles. His oxygen mask gets removed, though Banner's mutation prevents him from dying, even without an atmosphere, as long as he stays angry. The satellite's AI scans the Hulk's DNA and brings him aboard. Banner finds the corpses of all the spacemen that had died decades prior. They still look fresh, mushy. Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. call in a second team to attack the satellite, codenamed God's Eye by the way. The satellite runs a new program that disintegrates their ships with subatomic energy on their approach. The AI then uses the information it received from the Hulk to change its stored power to gamma radiation. Inside the satellite, Banner comes face to face with the personified form of the artificial intelligence. The satellite has grown unstable from the gamma radiation powering it, and Banner's half of the equation is needed to keep it together. Bruce refuses to give it to the AI, and the two of them fight. The AI is forced to absorb more and more tech into itself to grow larger and stronger as the Hulk's anger increases. It then imbues itself with gamma radiation too, but the surge of power causes the entire satellite weapon to go supernova and explode. What happens next should be nominated for douchiest moment in comic book history, if there was such an award. A small shuttle arrives to pick the Hulk up, but instead of taking him back to Earth, it blasts him off in the opposite direction. The shuttle receives an incoming transmission from the Illuminati, and they tell Banner they had no other choice in the matter. They are exiling him from Earth because he's a liability. They hope someday he can forgive them. What's so frustrating about all of this is that humanity is a far greater danger to themselves than the Hulk could ever be to us alone. He's the least of our worries floating around on this space rock. We're the ones that disagree and kill each other over trivial things on a daily basis. We're the ones that make nuclear weapons that can level entire cities with the push of a button. And S.H.I.E.L.D., they're the ones who designed a satellite that could detonate all the nukes across the globe whenever the hell it feels like it, endangering billions. Calling Hulk our greatest threat is a bit ridiculous, don't you think? The Illuminati may have explained their actions, are very apologetic about it, and have even pre-planned a destination for Bruce, a lush planet full of vegetation and no intelligent life, so he can finally be alone and at peace. But their expertly devised plan has a wrench thrown into it pretty quick. The shuttle experiences a navigation error, flies through a wormhole, and the Hulk lands on a completely different planet instead, threatening the well-being of its inhabitants. Way to go, humans! Way to exacerbate a problem. The planet the Hulk finds himself on is named Sakaar. Immediately, he comes under attack by its locals, Imperials, who shoot a dart into him filled with talkbots that allow him to understand their alien language. Quick and clever way to explain that. They order him to kneel and declare him property of the Red King, the Emperor of Sakaar. The Hulk refuses, saying he kneels to no one, and quickly learns that they have weapons strong enough to injure him. He passes out after getting shot with a tranquilizer. The Hulk would be sold off as a slave in the planet's crown city, along with a group of starving Sakaaran insectoids. They are taken to an imperial arena in the heart of the city, where they are fed to ferocious predators to please the Emperor sitting in attendance. The beasts are called devil corkers, and have sharp tentacles and spiked tongues. The Hulk lets one of them swallow him, and then rips it apart from the inside out, which impresses the Red King. Hulk also saves the insectoids from another devil corker by slicing its head off with a large battle axe. The Hulk goes to attack the Red King, but is electrocuted by his bodyguard and lieutenant, a member of the humanoid alien race known as Shadow People, named Kyera. She goes to finish him off, but the Emperor decides to deal with him himself in one-on-one combat. He dons a gold battle armor, which vastly increases his speed. He seems to have the upper hand over the Hulk, until the green guy can get behind him and draws blood from the Emperor's cheek with a quick slash of his sword. Before the Hulk can deliver the finishing blow on the Red King, Kyera interferes. She tells him he can't beat her and that this world doesn't belong to him. Hulk says not yet. Clearly, Sakaar is an environment that allows his anger to run free, unlike Earth. As we will see, he's become a lot cockier, brash, in his element like never before. Sakaar also acts like a big punching bag for him to let out the aggression he has towards the heroes of Earth for betraying him. Hulk is incapacitated by a laser cannon, fired by another one of the Emperor's lackeys, an Imperial Death's Head war guard, and taken to a place called the Maw. The Maw is a gladiator school surrounded by a pit that forms molten monsters used by the teacher Primus Vand to train his warriors for the Imperial arena. Hulk and the other slaves have had obedience devices implanted in their chests, activated by Primus's staff. They are forced to endure numerous tests. There are 22 gladiator recruits in total, and they must fight to the death until only 7 of them are left standing. In the end, the survivors include Hulk, a stone warrior named Korg, a black insectoid named Meek, a member of the Brood who is nameless, later just nicknamed No Name, a shadow person named Heroim, and 2 Imperial Sakaarans, a male named Ski, and a daughter of a congressman named Elo. To write his story, Greg Pak studied Genghis Khan, Joseph Campbell's Power of Myth, and Sun Tzu's The Art of War. He also read up on the lives of ancient Roman gladiators, which is an aspect that takes center stage within this narrative, my favorite part about it being as fascinated with ancient history as I am. Gladiators were often mistreated and socially marginalized slaves, thought to be nothing more than brutes whose lives meant very little outside of entertainment for wealthy spectators. Some would garner popularity, though, and to the lower classes especially, became celebrities and even sex symbols. Planet Hulk plays with a lot of this throughout. While unlikely that any real-life gladiators were besties, it was kill or be killed after all, it's safe to assume some may have respected well-trained opponents. The comic depicts Hulk and the other gladiators bonding and becoming friends as they overcome challenges together. They feel a connection through the shared trauma they experience, the toughness and loyalty they display. Hulk is reluctant to view them as teammates for the longest time, though. Having been burned by the so-called heroes of Earth, he feels it's only a matter of time before these new allies bury a knife in his back, too. I don't blame him. Hulk and his team of gladiators are transported to the Twisted Woods outside Crown City, and are forced to battle a notorious tribe of Wildebots that have been causing problems for the Red King. They've merely become the Emperor's attack dogs. Hulk and Korg kill the Wildebot leader in a matter of seconds. Word of Hulk's victory spread throughout the land, and he is given the name of Green Scar. The rest of the gladiators are also referred to as his monsters, which is pretty sweet. A banquet on an Imperial cruiser held in their honor would be interrupted by the Sakaar insurgency, who have begun taking the fight to the tyrannical Red King, and ask if the Green Scar will join them. Hulk refuses as the rebels are attacked by Death's Head war guards. He doesn't care about the planet's conflict. All he wants is to finish his dinner. He also believes the Sakaarans are just like the humans of Earth. They say they need his help now, but will turn on him and call him a monster later. Elo would get captured. Hulk says that she's with them, but she responds by saying she's not, and is willfully taken away. After their success against the Wildebot tribe, the gladiators move on to the Imperial League and are put to the test in the Great Arena in the Crown City. The Hulk would be visited by Kyera. She attempts to buy the Hulk and offers to take him to a peaceful place called the Steppes, where we'll never have to fight again. There is heated aggression between the two of them, but also just as heated sexual tension. Things get steamy. Woof. Hulk and his remaining monsters, minus Elo, enter the Great Arena where a Deathfire bomb is dropped on them. Hulk intercepts it to protect everyone, but the explosion blows off the right arm of Ski. The warriors continue fighting against more of the Emperor's war guards. The Green Scar is presumed dead from the bomb, but returns out of the dust, angrier than ever. I love how the cybernetic war guards are like enemy down, enemy down, enemy down, and then when Hulk begins attacking them, they say enemy mad, enemy mad, enemy mad. Hulk survives the onslaught to the surprise of the Imperial soldiers and the uproarious delight of the crowd. Unfortunately, Ski would succumb to his wounds, and in their slave quarters, the 5 remaining gladiators have a small ritual for him. They bond by sharing with each other the horrific battles they have all fought and lived through. No Name brings up the events of the Brood Saga, which I've previously reviewed, when her queen was turned into a crystal and her homeworld was destroyed. Korg mentions an encounter he had had with the god of thunder, Thor, and Hulk speaks of the puny humans and how much they hate him for being the strongest among them. I like how each of these stories are told with different styles of artwork. The gladiators all put their hands on skis and share their true names. They make a war-bound pact, meaning they will stand side by side to the very end, charging into the depths of hell if they have to. Hulk and his Warbound face a new challenge in the Great Arena. Their opponent, the Silver Surfer, going by the name of the Silver Savage. He had been captured by the Imperials, drawn into a wormhole like Hulk's shuttle had been, but this one was able to weaken the Surfer's cosmic power, long enough for him to be chained down and implanted with an obedience disc. I love that his Gladiator shield is his surfboard. Very neat. Though he is weakened, the Surfer is still far more powerful than Hulk and all of the other gladiators combined. Heroim is able to distract the Surfer so Hulk can impale the obedience disc, controlling him. Surfer thanks the Hulk for his freedom, but lost in the moment and filled with rage, he continues to attack him. The cheers of the crowd turn into horrified silence at the brutality they are witnessing. Eventually, Korg convinces his friend to stop, telling him the battle has been won. Kyera shows herself and says the monsters have one final obstacle this day. They must kill 3 Imperial traitors, one of whom is Elo. They refuse, but are compelled by their obedience discs. Thankfully, the Silver Surfer comes too, and using his power cosmic, frees all of the slaves in the arena by destroying their obedience discs. The slaves revolt, break out of the arena and out into the city, and take refuge into the Twisted Woods. Silver Surfer must return to the stars and offers to take Hulk with him, but the Hulk says no. He has found a new home, far away from the stupid humans. The issue of giant-sized Hulk taking place in the middle of the story has an interesting dream sequence in it, with Bruce Banner confronting his big green alter ego. He asks him what the hell he thinks he's doing. He wants to be given control of their body so they can leave this planet and go to where Reed wanted them to be. Hulk envisions the heroes of Earth laughing at him. Black Bolt is even thinking it. What a meanie. In anger, Hulk tears Iron Man in half, with Wolverine saying he's glad it's not him, referencing a moment that had occurred in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Hulk dreams about him and his Warbound killing or seriously injuring all of the Avengers. Spider-Man and Mr. Fantastic are cut in half by an axe. Nick Fury pleads with the Hulk and says he was a life model decoy, honest. In a very ominous tone, Hulk tells Banner he isn't the one who's alone anymore. He's finally found others cut from the same cloth. And when Meek awakens around the campfire and thinks he's seen a ghost, Hulk assures him that there are only monsters there. From this point onwards, there is no denying that the Hulk is in complete control over Banner. His demeanor reminds me of that of a stereotypical jock bully, surrounded by their flunkies. Hulk leads the gladiators and freed slaves through the Twisted Woods, with Kyera and her Imperial troopers hot on their trail. The Imperials try to bomb the woods where the heroes have set up camp, but Hulk and Korg shield it from the blast, and the only casualty is one of Kyera's scouts, who burns to a crisp. What a shame. A prophecy on Sakaar had spoken of one who would be powerful enough to save the planet, known as the Sakaarson, and the natives would start believing Hulk to be this fabled hero. Wherever Hulk's gamma-irradiated blood falls on the battlefield, it creates life where it had not been before. Viewing him as a god walking among them, he inspires thousands more to join the rebellion against the Red King. Hulk has been acting on his own accord, is a force of nature like he's always been, but this prophecy has forced the role of leader onto him. It complicates things. Meek would take his friends to a small village where his old hive used to be located. His father and brothers had been killed years ago by the headman there, named Char. Char claims to be a changed man, but Meek challenges him to a duel anyways. Char would get the upper hand and ask Meek to yield, but the stubborn bug cuts his own arm off to turn the tables. Char tells him to do it, finish him, but Meek is unable to, showing him mercy. He lets out an agonizing scream, which is heard and responded to by surviving members of his hive. They have been forced underground and work as slaves for the villagers. Hulk and his monsters would set fire to the village and free the insectoids. When Kyera and her men arrive in the aftermath, the headman calls himself a monster when he sees his reflection inside Imperial armor. Meek would convince the Hulk to help him go rescue even more of his insectoid pals that have been enslaved. He communicates with them through a telepathic process called chemming. Meek would confront Headmaster Char again to avenge the death of his father and kill him. Char says Meek is just like him now. Meek would refuse to stand down following his victory. His bloodlust has overwhelmed him. He wants to slaughter all of the Imperials, even though they have surrendered. Hulk is forced to interfere and knock them all down with a hand clap. Infuriated, Meek would lunge at his friend with tears running down his face and stab him in the chest with his spear. He says he's only been doing what the Hulk has been teaching him. His violent behavior has been rubbing off on Meek like an older brother's would. Next to the Hulk, Meek is the second most interesting character in this story to me. He's got a likable personality. You have a clear understanding of his motivations, and feel sympathy for him because he and the other insectoids are the last of their kind, and have been taken advantage of for so long due to their size. You want to see them get some level of retribution. They've earned it. But at the same time, Meek possesses all of the Hulk's worst traits. He's the devil on his shoulder, feeding into all the anger, hate, and aggression. Meek wants him to be the type of monster the Earthlings view him as. He's not doing the Hulk any favors. I like how Meek and No Name bond over the course of this story. At the beginning, they are at each other's throats, poking fun at the fact that they are all alone without anyone from their hives to back them up. They wonder how long either of them are going to survive, but being in similar positions, both members of hives that have either been severely diminished or eradicated altogether, they have this kinship and develop a romance. They become the parents, in a way, of all the smaller, less matured insectoids they free from enslavement. Hearing the calls and cries of more of his kind late one night around a campfire in the snow, Meek enters a cocoon state, and the following morning grows into a larger, armored version of himself, the appointed king of the insectoids. He challenges Hulk, who had begun to rethink his actions, how influential he had been becoming. He doesn't want to lead the resistance against the Emperor in Crown City, and would rather walk away from the fight, something Meek won't allow him to do. Hulk's fight with Meek and the other insectoids is the result of pent-up frustration between the two of them, but Hulk also fears himself. He knows that the fighting will never stop with him, and that he'll always be the monster who destroys and not saves. He attempts to kill Meek at the end of their battle, but thankfully, Korg jumps into the path of his strike. Meek decides to take the other refugees with him to Crown City, with or without the Hulk. Knowing he can't escape it, Hulk gears up to confront the Red King and his forces. He hopes he really is the prophesized Sakaar that will save the planet, and not what others, including Meek, believe him to be, the World Breaker that will demolish it. Outside the city's walls, the Green Scar comes face to face with Lieutenant Kyera again. She challenges him to a one-on-one fight to the death. Kyera possesses an ancient power of the Shadow People called the Old Power that she strikes Hulk with directly in his chest, but he becomes the very first being to ever survive it. more of Hulk's blood soaks into the soil around them, and more vines begin to grow. Kyera and her troops stop fighting, and they too believe the Hulk to be the legendary Sakaar. However, pissed off at the mere thought of that, the Emperor commands for an alien ship to be crashed into the center of the battlefield. It's filled with alien creatures known as spikes, the spores of which able to transform anything living they infect into grotesque monsters. One of the spikes tries to infect the Hulk with its nasty-ass purple tongue, but his regenerative healing factor makes him immune to their control. He would rip the spore out of his chest, and Meek impales it with his spear. The Red King would order Imperial dreadnoughts to drop several Deathfire bombs to encircle the small farming town of Ansara, trapping Hulk, Kyera, Meek, Elo, and several of the refugees there, with spikes closing in. The heroes would use flamethrowers to fend them off as they try to evacuate as many villagers as they can. While carrying a small child in her arms, more Deathfire bombs are dropped on Kyera. She walks out of the blaze, and the child's body disintegrates into ashes. Man, this comic is doing a bang-up job making me hate this fucking Emperor. What an asshole. Following this, Kyera makes a war-bound pact with Hulk and his monsters to fight by their side. Hulk would then send a personal message to the Red King and tell him it's on like Donkey Kong. By the command of their emperor, the Imperials have been directing ships filled with spikes through forests and villages to assimilate as much as they possibly can. Goes to show you how expendable the people he rules over are. The Red King is bitter over being cut in the face by the Hulk in their first battle. His ego has been completely shattered. Hulk and the other gladiators travel to the elders of the Shadow People, who test the Hulk to see if he truly is this planet's savior. They probe his mind and see the Illuminati looking down on him, saying he isn't a hero, that everyone he loves dies, and that his new allies on Sakaar will be killed too. They call him a monster again, and enraged, Hulk punches Iron Man's helmet into pieces. The elders believe the green scar cannot be the Sakaar with that much hate and anger in his heart, but it doesn't matter because the Hulk knocks a hole in the wall and only wanted the engine they had to power a stone starship the Shadow People had arrived on centuries ago. Its weapons are extremely powerful. Its electromagnetic pulses are able to deactivate the Imperial dreadnoughts that have littered the skies of the planet. It also shuts off all the power in Crown City. Meek would manage to chem with the leaders of the Spikes, link their minds with the minds of all his friends, and they are able to enter their primary ship to communicate with them. We learn that the Spikes were originally beings who roamed the stars and absorbed cosmic energy from the ones that had died. Their ship would crash land on Sakaar, and starved without their food source, they went insane and began consuming everything in their path, never satiated, and turned into mindless weapons by the Emperor. The Spike Elders would hold off their deranged children long enough for the Hulk and his allies to enter the Crown City and take on the Red King. Despite having his exoskeleton reprogrammed to sustain an EMP attack from the stone ship, the Emperor doesn't stand much of a chance against the Hulk. He didn't really to begin with, but now that the gladiators have the Spikes on their side too, this guy is royally fucked. Hulk gets Meek to chem with the Red King's mind so that he can see and feel the pain and terror he has caused all of the living creatures of Sakaar. Hulk wants it to be the last thing he experiences before he dies by his hand. Brutal. What's even more brutal is that the Red King doesn't feel sadness from it, but pleasure. damn. Their second fight boils down to the Emperor being overconfident and not realizing that the madder Hulk gets, the stronger he becomes. The fight is completely one-sided, but honestly, I don't mind that about it one bit. It's extremely satisfying seeing this piece of shit get what's coming to him. In desperation, the Red King activates a device that splits the crust of the planet and will lead to its destruction in a matter of minutes. Hulk swims down beneath the planet's surface and uses his immense strength to put the plates back in place. Reminds me of a scene in the Superman movie from 1978. By single-handedly putting Sakaar back together, the Hulk has shed his world breaker status in grandiose fashion. Fuck yeah! The Red King would get smashed in the face, and the impact of the blow would hurl him outside Crown City, where he is snuck up on and killed by a Wildebot. I feel like Hulk could have just killed the Emperor himself here. We didn't need any of that weak proxy bullshit like you do with some of the other superheroes. Hulk plays by his own rules. He is rage personified. Anything he does gets a pass in my eyes. It's not like I blame Bruce Banner for his actions. How could you? Hulk would claim the throne of Sakaar and become its Green King, with Kyera his queen. The two would perform a shadow ceremony to marry each other. They kneel with a mysterious orb between them. Kyera says she must know all of the Hulk in order to bear her body and soul to him. Hulk lets Banner come out for a second so he can introduce himself, and Kyera kisses him too. She's into it, and they make love. Does this count as a three-way? Whatever it is, it's kinky. The Hulk is praised throughout Crown City, being given offerings and called a prophet. In return for holding their children back during that final battle, the Spikes are allowed to feed on the Green King's gamma-irradiated blood to heal themselves and pass it on to their offspring, so no more innocent creatures will die from their spores. This process is incredibly painful for the Hulk. Kyera comforts him throughout it, and it gets to the point that they must feed on him every day, which causes Hulk to revert to Bruce Banner momentarily. He knows he can't keep going on like this forever. The Green King goes to work on rebuilding Sakaar. He and his gladiators assist with cleanup, repair the spiked ships so the aliens can return home, and he orders each of his friends to negotiate peace treaties with the Red King's enemies to ensure there will be no more fighting moving forward. Hulk and Kyera gaze over the new paradise that has been created with Hulk's blood, everything that has been given back to the planet. She also informs him that she's bearing a child. While walking through the science hall and having a hot and heavy makeout sesh with his honey bun and no name, this comic is a lot hornier than I remember. Meek would discover Hulk's confiscated shuttle and play the message he had received from the heroes of Earth, explaining why they had sent him away for being too dangerous. Not knowing if Hulk had seen it or not, Meek shows it to him, wanting him to remember that savage side of him, feeling his king has gone soft. Hulk just smashes it and is sick of the humans interfering with his new life on this new world. The remains of the shuttle are placed in the city's center, and children would be seen playing on it, showering their green hero with even more praise. The shuttle begins beeping, however, and the warp core becomes compromised. The Hulk throws it as far as he can, as fast as he can, but the explosion is still strong enough to evaporate millions of innocent Sakaaran men, women, and children in a flash. Hulk tries to shield his queen and unborn child from the blast, but they too meet their end and dissolve in his arms. The explosion causes the tectonic plates of Sakaar to separate again, leading to volcanic eruptions. Having failed everyone who had counted on him, believed him to be their savior, all Hulk wants is to die. But he thinks of the stupid, puny humans. He thinks of the Illuminati. He screams at the top of his lungs to them, demanding that they give all the lives they had taken back, to give her back. Hulk is picked up by his war-bound gladiators returning in the stone ship. Fueled by their anger as well, he has a singular mission: declare war on planet Earth. I really enjoy Planet Hulk. It's the best Hulk storyline of all time in my opinion, at least among the comics I've read. I love how it draws from religion a little bit, with a prophetic hero, as well as ancient history with the gladiatorial elements. It's a perfect fit for this kind of narrative. The idea of Sakaar is brilliant, this violent and hostile place where the Hulk can feel at home and unleash his inner monster. He's allowed to be the strongest there. He's accepted as the strongest there. His unmatched rage and aggression are characteristics that are embraced and not feared. Being able to act without restraint in this story is what I think makes it so refreshing. It shows us a side of the Hulk we can't really see when he's on Earth. The ending of this storyline, oh man, what a gut punch. At first, being sent to Sakaar was a mistake, a navigational error. All Hulk wanted was to be left alone. He couldn't care less about what was going on or who he befriended along the way. All he had was anger towards the Illuminati for betraying him, and as previously mentioned, all the fighting was a way for him to let that anger out. Sakaar was simply a punching bag for him, but in time it became his stress ball, a successful form of therapy. Like clay, he sculpted it into what he wanted, what he needed. He found happiness. He found peace. But all of that came crashing down because us, the garbage humans, couldn't leave well enough alone. Isn't that always the fucking case? When you see what happens at the end of the story, everything taken away from the Hulk in a nanosecond, your heart sinks into your stomach. And it's not just sadness that causes that. It's a bit of dread. That sense of, oh fuck, what in God's name have we unleashed? Spoiler alert, it's not good. We have a very, very clear idea of Hulk's motivation going into our next story. He's more pissed off than he had ever been, and no amount of stories is gonna calm him down. I want to thank you all for watching my video review of Planet Hulk. I will be reviewing its sequel World War Hulk in a few weeks, but we have another stop to make first along the way. Before the heroes have to face the consequences for the problem they foolishly sent away, they have to first deal with the consequences of problems occurring on their doorstep. Civil War is a polarizing story. There's no sense denying it. It's gotten a lot of love and a lot of hate ever since it was published in 2006. But after all this time, I want to share my honest thoughts and opinions on it. My video will be heavily political given the nature of the narrative. But then again, superheroes at their core have always been political since their inception. Nothing has changed. I can't wait to talk about it though. It's been a long time coming. See you then, and take care.